Hey guys, this week we're trying out Same Time Next Tuesday, which is a visual novel made for adults. Proceed with caution. Ooh. Was it doubling my inputs? Oh no, it's doubling my inputs. I need to play keyboard and mouse instead of with the controller. That'll be a bad sign for when I press A. Session 0. A 10-minute excerpt from a previous session to summarize the events leading up to the story. Is this referring to the comics, I think? From Nanoth? Nanoth, not Nanoth. Joe, it's good to see you. Come in. Get yourself comfortable. Yeah, thank you. Handsome. There's a lot going on here. We have a parody of Freud with a cigar in the background. Yeah. So, have you had a good week? It was decent, I guess. Unremarkable. That's good. Not every week needs to be remarkable. Now, Joe, how about we use the start of this week's session to recap what brought you here? Doesn't sound like a good use of our time, does it? Fourth wall break. I find it helpful to do this every so often, to see if we're on the right track and tending to the issues you came here to address. It's also good to see if your perspective on these issues has changed over our sessions. Don't worry, shouldn't last more than 10 minutes. You don't know how fast I read. I'm game, I guess. Am I billed for this part? Very good. So, you told me in your first session you were referred to me by a friend. Well, friend of a friend, actually. No, wait. My best friend's boyfriend, to be more precise. And as we've discussed in previous session, that's an important detail to you. A little bit, yeah. The two meeting each other is what set things in motion, you could say. Care to go over a brief summary of what happened? In under 10 minutes? Damn, let me give it a shot. It's come up several times before, of course, but I own and run a few car mechanic workshops. The first used to be my dad's, but I took over the business when he retired and expanded it to 2 more. Not that he was happy about it, may I add. He never liked how I run things. Always said my business education was pointless, and he's always been stingy with compliments otherwise. As always, I'm very sorry that's the case, Joe. Please continue. So, I'm good at managing the business, but since I still enjoy repairing cars and dealing with customers, I spend most of my time at the main shop, working with my best friend. Yep, that's the one. He's been working on as a mechanic there since we finished high school, so we've been co-workers for about 35 years or so. Whoa, that's a very long streak. So my friend, Boomer, always cracks me up when you bring that up. It's a nickname, out of curiosity? If so, how did you earn it? Or is his actual name? Who actually names their kid something like that? It's complicated. Doesn't matter. Yeah, this is a long-running comic. Was it just called Boomer and Zoomer? Are they literally named Boomer and Zoomer in the comic? I think they might be. They're mostly talking to each other, so they don't really have to refer to each other by name that often, I don't think. But it's an age gap comic. The point is, I've known this guy for 40 years. Almost our entire lives. And throughout all that time, Boomer had always seemed straight. You can imagine. He was good at sports, dated lots of girls, had a manly job and a wife and kid, the whole 9 yards. But over the years, I started having suspicions that things weren't so simple. For starters, he never seemed happy with his wife. Mind you, that woman's been a piece of work. I appreciate the restraint, Joe. That's the kindest description you've had for this woman throughout our sessions. See, I try. But I digress. Honestly, he's never seemed all that interested in her. No shared hobbies. He never really talked about her. He'd always jump at the opportunity to leave the house and hang out. It was like their marriage was an obligation or something. They split up after he found her having an affair, and from what he told me, it seemed as if she wasn't even bothering to hide it. I don't know if she wanted to get his attention or what, but my point is that this man wasn't pleasing his wife. And there were more obvious signs, let's say. Like when he'd stay looking at the posters of buff, greasy dudes plastered on my office walls just a little too long. I would rewatch the same very homoerotic action movies until he wore out the tapes. He had a strange admiration, let's call it, for our school coach. Oh, and so on. You get the gist. Was he this old when he had admiration for the coach? One day he starts whining about his now ex-wife's latest Facebook post in the garage's break room. The usual. She's supposed to watch their kid over the weekend or something like that, but was out partying with her newest boy toy instead. Now I take one look at the picture and I'm shocked because I know the guy. I've seen the same tiger on a gay dating app before, so I tell him, Boomer, my man, your wife's dating a closet case. But Boomer, he doesn't believe me, so I open up the app, find the guy, and I show him. He laughs his ass off and says we should send her a screen cap. Oh god, that was the premise, wasn't it? His wife's cheating on him with a young guy, and so I think he decided to sleep with the young guy instead to get back at his own wife. And then they end up just actually having a relationship with each other. Wow, I haven't read the original run in a long time. But I tell him, no way, this is your one chance to get even with her. You have to go to his place, fuck him, take pics, and then you show her. So the character we're following right now is the agitator. It's like in the internship where the gray wolf is just there to like cause the entire mess to happen in the first place. At least at first. Then they wrote 700 more pages of comic, I guess. I lost track. And your friend went along with that? Like I said, I've always had my doubts about how straight he really was. So I helped my friend make a profile, even took some nudes of him. Because the man can't take a decent picture of himself to save his life, I'll have you know. And then drove him over to the tiger's place. Was he taking a picture with wraparound sunglasses in the driver's seat of his pickup truck? Now, Boomer was just supposed to do the deed quickly, take some pics and leave. But he actually ended up staying the night. Said things kept getting in the way. He didn't have the chance to do it. You can imagine. I have a few ideas, yes. Point is, he goes over to this guy's place 2 more times, trying to get the pictures and screwing it up again. It's pretty obvious at that point Boomer just liked the guy, Miles. Right, his name is... So I think he might be called Zoomer in some context, but his name's actually Miles. Okay. I'm like, I don't remember his name actually being Zoomer. You know him, right? Since you referred me and all. Yes, we're acquainted, and I'm not surprised your friend was smitten. He is a good-looking young man. I don't know if you should comment like that on one of your patients. Is he your patient? And it was mutual. Miles fell head over heels for Boomer. Possibly literally. I don't know what positions they tried. Anyway, I don't know exactly what happened because they're both too embarrassed to tell me the whole story, but from what I understand, Miles took him out for an actual date. And who do they bump into? Boomer's ex-wife. And everyone freaks out. Of course. But get this, the ex and Miles were total strangers. She'd just taken some pics with him at some corpo joint event and was flaunting them online pretending they were dating, and he had no idea. I made my best friend sleep with another man, question his sexuality, I mean. I gave the guy a full existential crisis to show off to his ex, who was never dating the guy to begin with. That's certainly something. Comics are going directions. I do wonder about that. It almost feels like an intentional retconning of the original premise. I wonder if it was always planned to be a misunderstanding or not. I don't think you ever described it in this level of detail. But I think we're getting sidetracked. You were summarizing why you referred to me. Right, sorry. Got caught up with the story. Can't blame you. Sounds like something out of a movie. I think that is kind of the end of the story to some extent. I think since then it's just been like one-off pages, like jokes basically. Let's not exaggerate. It's material for a weekly updated webcomic at best, and there it is. Stares directly at camera. My point is that my best friend, who for all intents and purposes has been living as a straight man for all 40 years I've known him, got a hot young boyfriend after his first goddamn try at sleeping with a man. I, on the other hand, have been single for... damn. It's been a really long time. My last relationship, decades ago now, didn't end well. I figured I wouldn't mind a break and staying single for a while, but I started to miss it. It's not that hard to understand, right? I wanted to feel loved again. My options were limited. I don't have to tell you, this is before the internet and the apps and all that. So if you didn't go to bars, you had to be really lucky to get laid. And I wasn't very lucky. Things got easier with chat rooms and later on dating apps, but never moved to anything substantial. I figured it must be age. I'm old and fat, not exactly most guys' first choice. No offense. None taken. Go on, Joe. What I mean is, I figured I'm just single because I'm old, so I gave up on dating. What's the point, right? But if my friend is just as old and fat as I am, I guess he's not as fat. But he's still fat and old. And he got a boyfriend anyway. What does that say about me? What's wrong with me? It might be your personality, I'm sorry to say. It turns out that fat people date too. And old people date. It turns out that everyone can be in relationships basically if they want to be. And it's not like some sort of like... the rating scale that people bring up sometimes as if it's a matter of being like fit and like young and hung and everything is just like not actually how most people work in reality. You just have to actually put yourself out there and actually be confident and actually get out of your bubble and engage with people socially so that you actually know people in the first place and so on. It's not really a matter of like being a 10 or whatever. Most people don't even think that way. It's that's incel shit. I know this is part of your recount of events, but remember, Joe, it's best to avoid that kind of phrasing. There's nothing inherently wrong with you. Exactly. It's all manosphere shit, which is a ring of influencers that specifically benefit from creating insecurities in you, and they also benefit from never actually giving you solutions. So there's a racket where they give you advice, and they broadcast advice for a living, which you'd think means that they are giving you actual advice, but they're not. Because if they give you any real advice that actually works, then you would evolve beyond the need to consume their stuff and buy their products and pay for their classes and memberships and all this other stuff. That's how they make all their money. So they actually don't want to sell solutions. They just want to constantly sell the theatrics of being a solution. Like that's the mentality behind most of that thinking. It's like a series of people that have benefited from making you insecure and keeping you insecure indefinitely, and like maybe if you're social enough, maybe one or two bad experiences with someone if you're unlucky that might color your life. But like if someone sucks, then it's best to move on with it from that person anyway. But that's just not what life is, and it's just a mistake to be there and think that age, weight, the time you spent being single, are not personal flaws. Sure. So I'm gonna note down jealousy toward Boomer as one of our main topics of discussion. Would you agree on that? I wish I didn't, but yes. So there we go. So this is a visual novel that's a side story to an existing comic. That's a fun idea. Also in visual novel lore, if I can trace this back correctly, we had an interesting thing where I recently played Glory Hounds issue 5 with Bird, which will come out eventually at some point. And that had MASH in it. Like the guy that did my thumbnails, like the Marrow and the sidebars of the various thumbnails that aren't done by Crimson, that have been around for a few years, like Mashed Potatoes. He's a CG artist for Glory Hounds now. I'm like, that's crazy. It's like that's such full circle because it's the same person that does my art. And it turns out that he moved in because Diluca moved on from Glory Hounds, because Diluca now works for Minotaur Hotel, which I covered previously on this channel for one of these one-off videos. And I don't know if it's one-to-one, but Minotaur Hotel, I don't know if Diluca was taking over in any capacity directly for Nanoff, but Nanoff used to do the art for Minotaur Hotel, at least the sprites and so on, and has moved on from Minotaur Hotel for one reason or another. So it's like there's a chain that goes all the way to here, because Nanoff's the artist and I assume writer, I didn't check, of this game. Definitely the creator of the comic that it's based on in the art here and so on. So it's like there's a chain going from Nanoff to Minotaur Hotel to Diluca to Glory Hounds to MASH to my thumbnails as of a few years ago and so on, in a big old circle. It's just funny. It's such a tiny community. But about his jealousy. Alright. Now, let's go back to something I found interesting in your recount of events. In a session 2 weeks ago, we discussed that you had met Miles on a dating app before your friend Boomer did. Care to elaborate on what happened? Is there a lot to elaborate? I fucked it up. He had on his profile that he was into chubby guys, so I figured I'd give it a shot. I said hi, he said hi back, so I figured, alright, there's interest there. He wouldn't mind a picture of my dick, would he? Oh. Seems like he did, because he never replied. And this is, as you've told me, not an uncommon occurrence. Then maybe stop doing it? No, it's not. I don't always do it, it depends. Something that really kills my mood is having a pleasant conversation with a guy, only for them to completely lose interest the moment I send a pic. Have you considered waiting for when they ask for one? Or asking before you send one? Because that seems like part of it. So I often just go with the pic right away to make sure I'm not wasting my time. That's worse! That's an understandable thought process, Joe. No one likes to have their time wasted. Although, as we've already discussed, it's possible that by jumping to conclusions, you're preemptively sabotaging a possible connection. It's healthier to know how to handle rejection when it happens, than to never take chances out of fear that it will happen. Ah, this ties into my previous fucking video on the third channel, where I discussed gym furs and nerds, and I tried to discuss the idea that a lot of nerds in high school, which is me included, internalize the idea preemptively. Like they have a few bad experiences of people treating them poorly, or even just absorb from media about nerds that, people bully nerds, therefore people won't like me, and I should just stick to the idea that I'm super smart and whatever, and that they don't like me because I'm smart actually, and cope that way. But in many cases, nerds preemptively assume that people around them aren't going to like them, and so they preemptively sabotage relationships that they could have had with people because they're unwilling to open up to people altogether, either because they assume that nobody likes them because they're a nerd without actually testing it, or because they have like social anxieties and so on they cope with by making excuses that actually they don't want to know these people anyway, and they probably will suck. And if you're not careful, you'll internalize that and have it stick with you all the way into your 30s. And that I've seen it, and that's the type of person that is on Reddit instead of going outside, and they're like, why don't I have relationships in my 30s? And it's like, because you still are stuck to a narrative you made up to some extent when you were a teenager. That isn't actually how life works. I know. Any other breaches of etiquette in these apps? Sometimes I'll use other people's pictures instead of mine, or I'll just use a blank profile with no picture. You've gotta stop. I know I'm a pretty I know it's a pretty terrible thing to do, but I do end up showing them real pics after we've scheduled a hookup, and sometimes the guys are horny enough that they'll go through with that anyway. Or that's what I used to do until very recently. I still don't put up any pictures on my profile, but I do at least open chats with sharing them. They can be pretty nice. I even get some compliments on my beard every now and then. I've been shaving it off for most of the past 10 years because I didn't like how old the old white hairs made me look. Again, no offense. Again, none taken. Except I'm making this face for some reason. Don't read into it. You're the one in the session. I do feel like I'd be a little worried if my therapist had a Freud poster on the wall. Because I think basically his entire field of work, his entire career has at this point been thrown out the window. Like none of it's useful anymore, I think. Isn't that the case? But I figured Boomer has white fur all over his face, and that worked for him, so maybe I could give growing out my beard a shot. I end up really regretting it about 2 months in, though. A guy I was trying to date called me Grandpa because of it. I'm sorry, Joe. These apps can be very bad for people's self-esteem. Anonymity brings out the worst in some users. You know what the worst part is, though? I was using someone else's pic before I had to show a real one. You remember how I said that sometimes the guys are horny enough that it still works, right? Well, the ones that aren't, they get really mad at me. They really let me have it. Like, they'll say things that would normally make me cry like a bitch. And it doesn't sting as much. Because I gave them a good reason to be mad at me, so I don't take it as personally, as if, oh god, no! No! That's a complex right there, Jesus Christ. If I just preemptively poison my interactions with people, then it doesn't hurt when they reject me, because I did it on purpose. I was being an asshole for fake. For real. I don't take it as personally as I would if they said those things out of the blue. Does that make sense? But I don't know, the grandpa thing really hurt me. It made me feel like I had a shot at this dating thing at some point. It's gone now. I shaved my beard off right then and there because I was so disgusted with it. Did they even specify that it was the beard versus just like your entire face and body and who you are? Because that's just how old you are now. I'm sorry, but you have a person that you've been co-workers with for 35 years, and so you're adult before then. Doesn't that make you like late 50s to early 60s? Like you're in that range, man. That's just where you are. Have you tried not dating 20-year-olds? There's old gays too. The next day I had to drag myself to work, and the sight of the pinup posters in my office made me feel so terrible I just tore them all down and threw them away. There are admittedly fewer old gays. Not just normal age reasons, but obviously like there was the HIV crisis, and just a lot of more people that are in relationships at that point. This is the struggle, obviously. I ended up regretting that too, a couple days later. Really wish I hadn't done that. I mean, you know, they gave the office more personality. The burly construction worker macabre bearing his ass gave it a splash of color it really needed. Interesting. I don't think we've touched on this very much before. What were you thinking when you tore those posters down? I was angry, I guess. It's hard to say. I couldn't look at them without thinking they'd call me fat, old, and ugly if they ever saw me. That sounds like distorted thinking, Joe. You meet customers every day and none of them call you any of those things when they see you. Yeah, but I'm not approaching any of my clients and asking them out, am I? There's a lot of eye contact right now, Joe. You're making me nervous, Joe. I mean, I did a couple times back when I was a stupid kid. But I learned not to shit where I eat. The point is, I just knew if I tried to hit on any of those guys in the posters, they'd all laugh at me. I couldn't bear to look at them. Well, first of all, how you approach people is very important, and you're working on that. And second, and you don't know what people's tastes are like, you may very well be their type and not even know it. But since we're on the topic, why did you put those posters up in the first place? You seem to have some emotional attachment to them. I feel like if you want to be someone's type, you should probably have accurate photos up, because that's the filter, is to actually have attention from people that want to give you attention in the first place. Like, you're just doing yourself a disservice if you're just throwing yourself out into the pure randomness of everybody, as opposed to actually giving somebody an impression of who you are, and then getting those responses instead. You said you don't want to waste your time, Joe. You know what really is a waste of time is not having profile pictures at all. Can a man just have something pretty to look at after a long shift? Or during a long shift, I assume, because it's at your work, not at your home. Whoa, camera angle. That portrait of Dr. Freud behind you can get somewhat dull after a while, I'll give you that. A dedicated shot just for that is wild. But I have a feeling that there's little more to it than that, Joe. How do I put this? I love little animations of how the things pop up. It's fun. I put the first poster up the day that my dad retired. It made me feel like the place was truly mine. To be honest with you, I do get a little kick out of putting them up in what used to be his office. He really wouldn't have liked them up there. Of course, it's a firefighter Dalmatian. You bring up your father a lot in our sessions. It's a bit hard not to, isn't it? He's a stubborn old asshole and nothing I did was ever good enough for him. But that's history now. Who gives a shit about what some half-rotten carcass sitting in a retirement home thinks? Oh, so he's not dead yet. You seem to care, Joe. If you didn't, you wouldn't get a kick out of putting up with those posters, would you? Okay, yes, I do care. There are a lot of things I'm still mad about and can't let go. Are you wearing two-seater in front of your dad? That's wild. Wearing a two-seater shirt in that context is insane. Especially since he didn't seem to be playing with a full deck anymore. Sometimes I'm afraid I missed my chance to settle things between us before his brain fully turns to mush. Even so, it seems like you still have an opportunity to try sorting things out with your father. I would take it if I were you. That is, if he wants to. I sometimes suspect he's more lucid than he lets on. He's just doing it out of spite so he can take all his grudges to the grave. You think it's possible you might be seeing malice where there isn't any, Joe? I know my dad. Let's entertain that possibility then. Your father is not willing to offer you the closure you want. It's not exactly rare to end a straining relationship without a satisfactory conclusion, is it? One does not always get the catharsis one expects from the other person. Feeling very targeted. You'll have to accept that you might either never get closure with your father and try to make peace with with the past on your own. Let's leave that there for now. You go back to what happened. You felt rejected. You were angry at yourself. You shaved your beard and tore down the posters. What happened next? After that, let myself go for a while. Showed up late to work, stopped cleaning the apartment, left most of the jobs to Boomer and Larry, that sort of thing. I don't drink because I've seen booze really do a number on my dad. Some of those days I was really tempted to start. Not a good time to live right across from the liquor store, let me tell you. And that's when Boomer recommended I start seeing a therapist. Never expected that from him, of all people. I can read him like a book because I've known him all my life. But he's not the type to open up easily. Might have been Miles' idea, I figure. But anyway, I tried one session and it didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? I wouldn't say the guy was bad at his job. He just looked too much like the kind of guy who'd reject me. I felt judged just being around him, and really struggled to talk about my issues. So, I was unconvinced, but then Boomer asked me to give it another shot with a different therapist. Even offered to come with me if I helped. And that's how I ended up here. I'm very happy you did, Joe. It's always good to find a therapist you're comfortable with. Thank you for going over this with me. I know some of these things are difficult topics you took a while to open up about. It says a lot that you're now able to recount them with relative ease, and in only, half an hour. We're out of time for this week. Now I'm going to list the main 3 issues I've identified during our sessions, which also came up prominently during our recap. First, your best friend found love in a shorter amount of time than you have, even with similar setbacks, and that makes you feel insecure. Don't call them setbacks. Second, you have a complicated, unresolved relationship with your father. And third, you have a very bleak outlook of yourself and are anxious about your age and your dating prospects. Would you agree to all these? All 3? I'd say so, yeah. How much do you think you've progressed in these 3 key issues over the course of our sessions? Well, my dad hasn't been a priority yet, so I don't think I've made much progress there. As for my self-confidence, yeah, we're getting somewhere. I've gotten a couple of dates using my own photos, and some guys don't seem to mind how I look. I guess I do feel a little bit better about myself now. That's fantastic news. It would be fantastic if any of those dates went anywhere, though. One guy ghosted me after we hooked up. Another guy was really sweet, but really into having sex in cold storage freezers for some reason. Is this a joke about fetishizing pigs? Another said he liked the sex, but didn't see himself dating me. I still can't shake the feeling that there's something wrong with me. Try not to use that phrase, Joe. I know. What I mean is, Boomer didn't seem to have similar setbacks at all. You're right. Boomer actually didn't try to date at all for decades because he was married. Then the moment he tried to date, he immediately found a boyfriend on like the first try. So, whoops. It's actually a really, really different scenario, especially since he didn't think he was gay. He had I guess he jumped into the relationship under the false pretense of it all being a bit, and so he went past a bunch of stuff that somebody might struggle with more if they actually saw themselves as gay and that this is a real relationship in the first place. Basically, he didn't actually want it, which is not actually advice, but it's just completely inapplicable on almost every single level. You just are both older, and that's like it. His phone was blowing up when I installed the app on it. Joe, you said it yourself. You took your friend's pictures for his profile, but avoid using your own. It's common knowledge that profiles with pictures get more hits on dating apps. So do accounts that are new to a city's scene. Fresh meat, so to speak. I'm impressed, you know your stuff. I do. But back to what matters, it seems like we still have plenty of work ahead of us on the subject of your fixation with your friend. Perhaps addressing that is something we should focus on for now. I suppose we should. We still have 30 minutes left, so let's get to it. Whoa, what a long session. I say knowing that the time I've been doing doesn't actually count. We have a selection. There's a bull character. That looks like an alpaca or a llama down there. This is like a bull or a cow. And this guy's a ponytail. That's all I can tell. I didn't actually read what it says. Whoops. Joe, good afternoon. Come in. Thanks. Good afternoon to you too. Press here. Before we begin, I'm very, very sorry I had to reschedule this session. I had to fill in for another professor for a final exam date. I really hope I wasn't a major inconvenience for you. No problem, these things happen. I love the detail of changing their clothes each time. That's fantastic. It gets weirder and weirder the longer a story stretches on in a VN, and the characters are dressed exactly the same way for the entire duration, and it's not like some kind of like, I don't know, Starfleet uniform or a set of armor or something, but like casual clothing. You're like, you ever wash those? You ever change the entire cast of Echo? Y'all doing all right? Although it turned out to be a good thing we rescheduled, actually. I'd say right about now would be a pretty good time for a session. Oh? Did you have a particularly eventful week? Ha, very much so. Yesterday was crazy. Good crazy or bad crazy? I don't know yet, just crazy. Well, I'm all ears, and an elephant never forgets. Tell me what happened yesterday, Joe? Sure, let me jump right into it. I want to make good use of our time. Huh. Actually, where do I start? The garage. I'll start at the garage. A different background. Ooh. That's a fun use of having the coloring not match with the location of the line art in various spots. Just a pleasant background. Careful use of restricted palette and so on. That's fun. The day started off with a typical busy Monday. We get a lot of customers sometimes who have car troubles over the weekend and show up as soon as the week starts. Seeing this text on this background, I definitely do kind of think that maybe the text should have an outline. Things usually get a little more relaxed around noon, and then pick back up around 4 p.m. So when people start getting off work until the end of the day. And you were working at the main garage, correct? That's right. Other than the start of the month, I don't head out to the other two shops very often. They're in good hands, and I prefer to work with the guys in the main one. Larry and Boomer. Yeah, them. Is that Larry? Is Larry the lizard? Just a little reminder, but Larry is the younger of the two. He did his apprenticeship under me, and he's been working with us for about 8 years now. Great guy, works hard and can take a joke. He can be a bit neurotic sometimes, though. And Boomer. He's my best friend that I've been working with for 30 years. You said 35 earlier, and then you've known him for 40. The numbers are changing. No need to clarify, your relationship with Boomer has been one of the key points of your therapy, after all. Yeah. That is not what you usually want to hear. It's like, my best friend, and the key points of my therapy so far. Anyway, we were a couple hours into that downtime period, so there wasn't much to do but pass the time between jobs. Boomer, it's been 15 minutes. I think the red Corolla's dry already. Yeah? I'll get right on it in just a sec. There it is. Now, look at that extra right there. He's starting to move. To the left or right of Arnie? To the right. The guy in the minigun. That's the I almost said Howie scream. What is wrong with me? The Wilhelm scream. See? He just throws it into the air like it weighs nothing. You ever held one of those, Larry? Can't say I have. M134, about 40 kilos. 40 kilos. Look at it go. Must have been styrofoam prop or something. What year is this from again? You think at this point in Arnold's career he'd be working with a bigger budget than this crap. Shut up, it's a good movie. It's just got that one bit that's funny. Yeah? But the bit's done now, see? And now the scientist's gonna explain the Soviets' plan for 5 minutes. 4 more than necessary, if you ask me. Go put another coat on the Corolla. You've got shit taste, Joe. Sorry it ain't two black and white Swedish broads staring at each other for 90 minutes while nothing happens. A walking animation. We watched that movie one time 20 years ago. He's still bitching about it to this day. I wonder if we can accurately identify what both movies are that are mentioned here. Anyway, what about you, Larry? Any jobs left? What time is it again? Not good. The white van's owner was supposed to come pick it up 38 minutes ago. They give another call? When'd you last call him? Right before Boomer called me over. Maybe wait a little longer then. It's taking up the inspection pit. That's why we got 2 of them, Larry. I'll go look outside, see if I spot him. That would be a pain in the ass. Case 7000 about this feeling directly targeted, but my dad, that I'm not gonna get closure with, worked in a car garage, and that was the whole ongoing bit, was having to move things around. He's one of the only people I know that had a justified reason for having one of those oversized pickup trucks that are like just comically overdone. It's like, well, he did tow boats and cars all day because he got more use out of the space he had by physically towing them out of the garage and out into the parking lot and so on, and rearranging them all like that. Was impossibly good at backing up with a trailer or a boat behind him, boat being more ridiculous. I remember specifically we had an extended driveway on one side that wrapped around the side of the house, but only slightly, and he would back a boat on a trailer into the side into the side next to the house, and there would be like 6 inches of gap. There'd be no space for it. No one else would even try to do it. It was like, what the fuck? How does he do this? It's like an extension of his body. There I was, all by my lonesome. With Larry waiting outside and Boomer over in the other corner of the shop. I had a good amount of privacy, even with one of the garage doors rolled open. And since I didn't have anything on my plate, I was mostly killing time on my phone, checking dating apps, that sort of thing. There's a rat, Squeako, Mask for Mask, DILF, and DTF. Names are wild. And the now classic trope of having a character that has like a baseball cap that just or trucker cap that covers their eyes. There are a few guys I was chatting with, trying to move things forward, but it didn't seem like any of those conversations were going anywhere. That's when a car pulled over. It was pretty unremarkable. Just a 1980s Chevy that had seen better days. The kind of car that drops by mechanic shops all the time for all the obvious reasons. And this is gonna be like the date, whoever walks in, right? The driver though, he was anything but. There it is. Oh my god. That hyena. Yes. I was like, that's the color scheme behind. Jesus. All right. He has like a fucking. This is how you draw a character if you're trying to communicate that they're like a movie actor or something. It feels like. The door popped open and out comes this incredibly handsome man. He was dressed stylishly, but not ostentatiously. Chinos, half undone shirt, some accessories here and there. Well built too. Big arms, big chest, the whole package. You didn't even talk about that part. And long, messy hair tied in a ponytail. Made it look effortless. Speaking of chinos though, they were tight enough that I could tell he was packing. There it is. Didn't get a good look at his behind right away, but of course I checked later and it didn't disappoint. Hello? Are you still open? Open? Yes. Can you take a look at my car? Your listing says you're open until 6. Me? Who else would I be talking to? My, what an attitude. Tell me about it. It's a pretty bad first impression. It's not like difficult clients are rare or anything. Same as any customer service job, you get a lot of assholes. You were strangely disoriented about the one thing you do at your job. Like, there's a lot of know-it-alls for starters, I used to work with cars. Good lord. Haven't heard that a million times. It's a statistical impossibility that so many of you used to be mechanics, you know. Oh, and plenty of people get weirdly judgmental about my weight, too. They get real anal about me messing with their seat adjustment so I could fit in. Yeah, I'm fat, I get it. But if I need more leg room because I'm a good head or two taller, there's not much I can do about it, is there? And don't get me started with the ones who think I'm gonna mess up their car suspension while I'm doing my damn job. Huh. Out of curiosity, is the weight of the driver or passengers not a concern with cars? Why do you ask? See, I'm more used to motorcycles, and that's something you do have to consider. You ride a motorcycle? I assume that's not the case with cars, is it? Or at least not the same degree? Let me put it this way. If a car's suspension can't handle 140 kilos in the front seat, you have way bigger things to worry about. Anyway, I don't see too many of those types, thankfully. The most common are the real cheap clients. And considering the shitbox this guy was driving, that's what I expected right away. His attitude ended up being a blessing in disguise of sorts. I might have blown any chance I had with this guy, I think. If I felt like I had any whatsoever from the get-go, that makes sense. So the same answer as Boomer, the answer is to not be trying. So you're saying you didn't blow your chance then? I'd like to see where this goes. However, before we get into it, I'm picking up on something I find interesting, Joe. We discussed previously that you struggle with the type of men you perceive will judge you for your appearance, even in contexts where being considered as a sexual or romantic partner would be out of the question. In dating apps with your previous therapist, even the posters on your office walls during a moment of particularly intense distress. Would it be a stretch to say that you feel more comfortable when they act adversarially towards you first? Huh. I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. But it does make a little bit of sense, I guess. Some days you're just stressed out and don't want to deal with the pressure of screwing something up. And it was, what, 5 p.m. already? That close to the end of my shift? I see. Would you say then that there are times where you prefer the opportunity for positive change didn't present itself, so you wouldn't feel stressed about it? Sometimes, yeah. And have you ever, when a positive opportunity presented itself, thought it would be a good idea to reject it right away to avoid the potential failure? I can't think of any examples right now. That's good. Wouldn't that be a shame? That's all. Sorry for the interruption. So, this very handsome client came to your shop. What happened next? Right. As I was saying, the thinking pose. I figured, this guy's totally out of my league, and apparently in a bad mood, so let's just treat this like any regular client interaction. That musical transition. Yes. Welcome to Joe's Garage. Name's Joe. No relation. What's your name and what can I do for you? Hi. Bruno. I've had this car for 2 years now. Used to be a friend's. It was working properly when he first gave it to me, but starting a few months ago, it's been having issues getting it started. At first, it happened once or twice a week. Then the engine light turned on, Now I need a couple of tries to get it started every time. It's becoming a problem. Yeah, these old cars need some love every now and then. When was the last time you had it checked? This would be the first. And you said you've had it for 2 years? Word of advice, you should get a general checkup once a year or every 10,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. But better late than never. Might as well take care of it now, right? Just so we're clear. I only want to get the issue at hand fixed, please. Not a full check. Sure. Let's focus on that then. I think he's... Oh, I think he actually might not be a hyena. I think he's a German Shepherd. I got focused on the way that, like, people often draw hyenas as having the darker snout. And I'm like, wait a minute, those are pointy ears and there's no spots or stripes anywhere. That's a German Shepherd, isn't it? Mind if I take a look, Bruno? I'll need your keys, please. At this point, I'm thinking, no amount of eye candy is going to be worth the headache this job's going to be. You have to be a real cheap bastard to get a car that old and not do any maintenance for 2 years. I'm expecting even at a fair price, I'll get complaints when it comes to getting paid. But all things considered, I've had way worse jobs than this. For starters, I like working with older analog cars. Sure, it's convenient when you got a built-in diagnostic scanner telling you what's wrong, but it's not as fun as getting your hands dirty. And even if Bruno wasn't very cooperative, he was at least pretty to look at. So, I took his keys and sat down in his front seat, doing my best not to adjust it too much and further annoy the guy. There we go. I'm gonna try starting the car now. Here's attempt number 1. And we're off to a bad start. Let me give it another try. How many tries would you say it usually takes? 3 on average, 5 at the worst. That is pretty bad. Now, it should be obvious that the engine itself isn't starting, but try listening towards the back of the car. Now, when asked to do that, he didn't turn his head towards the back or anything. He kept staring at me, admittedly with a disinterested look on his face, but still. He just pointed his ears towards the back of the car. I love that detail, though. I know I said I was trying to treat this guy like regular customer interaction, but even when being passive-aggressive like that, man was just too cute for me to ignore. Sure, like that. Let's see. Did you do something different this time? Nothing. I reckon I just got lucky. You said it yourself, right? 3 tries on average. I'll turn it off in a second just so we can see for yourself, but first we might as well bring the car over to the inspection pit while it's running. If you could take a couple steps back, please. And we're in place. I'm gonna turn the engine off now and get on over here. Now that I see you up close, have I seen you somewhere before? Are you one of them homosexuals on the dating app? Me? I was barely able to keep my cool before, then I certainly lost it there. You did not keep your cool before. Because now I'm thinking, that's a well-groomed, stylishly dressed, very muscular man standing in front of me. Could he be, you know, also into other men? And more importantly, could I have run into him on a dating app already? From everything you told me about your behavior on those apps, Joe, I can understand why you would be so nervous. You bet, because I don't show my face willy-nilly, no sir. If this guy knows me from there, it's pretty likely that, you know. If you don't show your face willy-nilly, then it's kind of wild that you encountered this guy and forgot him. I know? Yeah, you know. He's seen your dick? Please, Horacio. Do I have to say it? As we've discussed, I want to encourage you to get comfortable with talking in a frank and open manner about patterns of behavior you want to change. It would help a lot in addressing these issues. But I'm not going to force you to say anything you don't want to, Joe. Alright, fine. What I mean is I avoid showing my face, or use other people's pictures when using dating apps. Or at least I used to. Remember, I'm doing my best not to do that anymore. Then it's likely that if we had met that way, then it would have only seen my face after we agreed to meet up, and I switched to a real picture. And since I would, of course, remember sleeping with a guy who looked like that, I could also assume he would have already told me off or something. I understand how that would make you nervous, Joe. This would, however, appear to be catastrophic thinking, wouldn't it? All you know for sure is that your client thinks he's seen you somewhere before. Then he jumps to the conclusion that he's seen you on a dating app. From there you assume he's seen your face after you use someone else's, and then you assume he's already rejected you. You see how you took 3 leaps of logic to arrive to that conclusion. Did you consider the possibility that he just bumped into you in a more mundane situation? Maybe he works a customer service job nearby and you're a regular client of his. That can't be. I definitely remember having seen him before, if that were the case. My point still stands, though. You manufactured in seconds a scenario in your head where this person has already shown no interest in you. Did you remember the exercise I suggested when that happens? Yeah, but it's hard to do in the heat of the moment. So far, it only helps me calm down if I can get some quiet time after the conversation. And that's a good start, Joe. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. In this instance, though, your assumptions made you lose your cool. What happened next? Right. He asked me where he knew me from. Me? Yeah, I think I've seen you before. Did we go to the same gym? I don't go to the gym. I mean, I don't regularly go. As you can see, I sign up every January and then not much comes from it. Speaking of somebody that's been regularly going to the gym, for like 8 months now? Doing the math. Might be 10 months. Actually, do I remember when I started? Oh yeah, I started in August, yeah. It's not like regularly going to the gym makes you look like that or anything. Or even it leads to a physical appearance change necessarily for a while. Oh, you're a resolutioner. I see. Hey, I do plenty of lifting here already, you know? All I need outside of work is a treadmill. I can tell. You literally did just say, as you can see. And then he says, and then him recognizing it, you're like, no, wait, I'm insecure now. So there's a chance we met somewhere that wasn't a dating app at least. It could have been the gym, come to think of it. I don't go as often as I should, but I do like sticking around the sauna as long as I can stand it to stare at the eye candy. Joe! That felt somewhat reassuring. That I can tell moment though, that stung a bit. It did help ground me back down after getting my hopes up, I suppose. Why did that sting? You said you do plenty of lifting, and he said he could tell. That would be a compliment, wouldn't it? No, he said he could tell I need the treadmill. That'd be a jab at my weight. I can't disprove that. It's your recounting of events after all. Just pointing out that it could be a matter of perception. This is actually really interesting that it's set up this way as a narrative. Oh my god, is this an entire game about misinterpretable interactions and so on and the way that we'd sabotage ourselves? Because it's actually kind of what furries need to hear, maybe? Wow, that's immediately interesting. I think we're going to cut it here though, because we're an hour in, and I usually stop a bit earlier than this, but not quite. This is our little preview of Same Time Next Tuesday, which you can check out if you're an adult. See you guys next time.